What up, y'all? We are live. Let's see if we get any viewers today. Some lunchtime action for y'all. Some shitty weather. See how much people are live action. That's right, Landon. Live action, baby. Give it another 30 seconds or so. See if we get some people to hop on. Gonna throw on some music. Oh, YouTube about to take my shit down for having some music. Never mind. Can't do that. I'll take my shit down. I'm gonna copyright and whatnot. That's too bad. We'll be fucking jamming. All right, we'll throw the old YouTube over here. All right, quick rundown of week 11. The week 11 recap. Obviously, some major. Week 11 was a major week in terms of games and deciding factors for teams. If they were buying, selling, staying put. We had the trade deadline come and go on Wednesday. Lots of moves were made. So let's just go back and look at the games from week 11 that ultimately decided some teams' fate. We'll start with my game against Mike. I lost. I lost to Mike. Coming into the game, I was feeling pretty good. He made a couple of moves before the game. I still like my chances. But I had a decent week with 97. I went back and looked. I would have beat about 75% of the league. Just wanted to beat Mike. That's for damn sure. So Mike had a huge game from Bo Nix, career high 40 points, his first ever 300-yard passing game. Jahmyr Gibbs was rolling. DeAndre Swift, Jaden Reed both found the end zone. Brock Bowers had a day. The Browns defense stunk, but for me, I didn't have any big games. I just had a bunch of okay games. I got a 0 out of Mike Williams. Even if I started Keenan Allen for Mike and put Javonte in at the flex, I still lose. So nothing I could have done lineup wise that would have won me my game. So ultimately, I was going to lose. Mike moves to 6-5. He's in second now in the North, looking at a nice wild card spot. And then I lost. So Mike won 124-97. And then we got Tanner versus Landon, a potential. We were looking at this as a potential championship matchup. This is a potential playoff matchup. But Tanner put belt to ass on Landon. Landon liked it. But Tanner just fucking smoked him. He put up 134-93 without a tight end. Just the disrespect to not even add a tight end. So yeah, that was big win for Tanner. Kind of proving his point and cementing his status as the team to beat. Tanner goes to 8-3. Landon goes to 5-6 and is second in the division. And then we got an upset here. This was an upset. Nick Leon wins 138-121 against Logan, sending Logan into a seller's mode. And, it seems like Logan didn't learn from Kevin's past transgressions of don't trade with the team that you're playing against. So, Logan had made a couple moves, but he made a move with Nick that ultimately netted Nick Jordan Addison and Calvin Ridley. Those two combined for, Ridley had 6 and Addison had 12. Nick made some nice moves. And then he had a huge game out of Stafford, 36 points. Huge game out of Taysom Hill, 37 points. Crazy. Bumps him up to tight end number 3. And then Chris Boswell, 24. Good for him. And then Logan, Logan put up 121 most weeks. That's enough to win. Pretty much almost every week, that's enough to win. But not this week. He lost. So he lost 138-121. And then almost another upset. Matt 1-10 loses to Joe. 9-2 Joe. 70.22 for Matt. 71.14 for Joe. So close. to pulling off the upset. If Matt had just had pretty much any other tight end than Pat Fryermuth, he probably wins the game. Joe and Griff apparently, they didn't make any deadline moves. They were the one team that is in the hunt, that's in the race, the one team that didn't make a move. So they're feeling confident going into the playoffs, scoring 71 points a game. So whoever gets them first round is licking the chops. But I'm not going to spend too much on this game because it was a dud. But Joe ultimately wins that game. Dan was staring down the chamber of an upset. Tom had 89 points, had a monster game out of Anthony Richardson. He had 30 points. Josh Downs showed up with 14. Probably would have looked different if Nico Collins' touchdown to start the game didn't get called back. But Dan got a monster game out of Joe Mixon, 36 points, and then he sent him packing after that. Sent him to go win a game. So Dan won, moved to 8-3, but he's still selling. And then we got Corey and Kevin. This game was always going to be Corey's. He could have just started probably 2 players and won this game, but he got big games from T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, David Montgomery. Kevin got 20 points from his kicker and 0 from the rest of his team. Did the Giants actually release him? That must have looked bad at safety. Wow, yeah. That's smart because if he gets hurt, they owe him money next year. Smart move. Smart move. All right, moving on. This was definitely one of the games. Kevin has had an all-time bad season. Yes, he, things were looking good for him in the beginning. Made a couple of weird moves, a couple panic decisions. Then he checked out. Didn't really make a good sell-off. So he'll probably be in the same boat next year. Probably worse. So Kevin, we appreciate your donations and we appreciate you being the treasurer of the league. Thank you for that. Anyways, this is a game that we had circled right here as a big matchup. Again, another potential championship preview, playoff preview. Mason versus Shane. And this game did not live up to expectations at all. Mason wins 110 to 86. I have to look. I think he got his defense, but Shane got -5 from the defense. Should have started Jared Goff. If he started him, he would have. Let's see, it's a 22-point difference. I think he might have won. It would have been close. I'm not doing the math, but it would have been close if he started Goff. But obviously, Joe Burrow with a monstrous game for Mason to really seal the deal there because his team was not doing anything other than Joe until Joe Burrow came to play. And then for Shane, he had the guys on bye, James Conner on a bye, Chuba Hubbard on a bye. So he was starting guys like Audric Estime, who he thought was running back one, which he's not. And then Jake Ferguson obviously laid an egg. So Mason wins that 110 to 86 to move to 9-2. And Shane had a chance to clinch the division last week, be the first team to clinch their division. He could have clinched with a win or a Nick loss. He lost, Nick won. He can clinch this week. And then we're looking at the final game of the week last week, and this is another one that had implications for buying or selling. And Pizzo, after selling, puts belt to ass to Tim and wins 107 to 62. He got a big game out of Jameis, a big game out of A-Chain, and a big game out of Brian Robinson. CeeDee Lamb, Zach Ertz both played well, and Tim had nobody do anything for him. And that was the end of Tim's season right there, ladies and gentlemen. So let's move on to the deadline recap, and by recap, I mean the trades. Let's look at the trades from the deadline. But before we do that, let's look at our league leaders in trades this year after the deadline. Coming in first place, no surprise, is me. 25 trades, ladies and gentlemen. 25 trades. That's crazy. I did not realize I put up that many trades. That's good numbies. Um, then we look at, I wonder if the trades, if that counts as a trade accepted and then a trade processed. Well, no, because then you have to split that in half. I don't know. This seems weird. 25 trades. Wow. Okay. That's good. Coming in second, the injured reserves. That would be Mr. Nick Leon with 21 trades. That's no surprise either. I thought he hadn't beat. I wasn't keeping tabs. Coming in third, Peanuts Warriors. Peanuts Warriors is Shane. Comes in third with 20 trades. And then we've got with 18 trades is Landon. 18 trades for Landon. Matt made 12, tied with the Cookie Monster, which is Logan. And Mike, I think this is the highest amount of, no, not, I don't think I know. This is the highest amount of trades for Mike in a single season ever. I think he doubled his trade output this year from the last 3 to 4 years combined. So we love seeing you go for it, Mike. You did a good job. You did a really good job of trading this year. Proud of you, buddy. Hope you keep it up in the future. The league is better when you make moves. And then we look to the bottom of the list, the teams that made the least amount of trades. Pizzo made 4. Tom made 5. Joe made 6. Tim made 7. I said Pizzo made 4, right? So, there's a correlation. I say it every year. We've looked at the numbers. We've kind of tracked it, trended it. The teams that don't make the trades are typically the teams that don't make the playoffs. Single digit trades, it's no surprise. And I won't be surprised when Joey's team, I know they got 2 losses. I know he's 9-2. Won't be surprised when they're knocked out in the first round because they didn't make any moves to improve their team. And that's just how it looks. So speaking of the deadline, let's look at the trades that were made that over the last week. So we're gonna start date this. So the deadline was this past Wednesday. So we'll go back to the 14th. Yeah. Let's just look at trades. All right. Let's look at these trades over the last week or so. All right, let's go back. All right. So we had Corey traded Ken Walker and Tyler Lockett to Dan for the Chargers defense, Alexander Madison and DK Metcalf. Corey's looking to bolster the wide receiver room there. Chargers defense, huge upgrade over the Ravens. And Alexander Madison to fill in the flex. Not a bad trade for both. Obviously, Dan gets Kenny Walker in a good contract, who he did ultimately move on another trade. This is a nice little trade here. Kevin traded CeeDee Lamb and DeAndre Swift to Shane for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Trey Benson. I like that trade. He probably could have traded those two for Chuba Hubbard. He probably could have traded them to Mike and got a nice deal out of Mike for those two. But you like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He'll be less than 50, most likely. Trey Benson's going to be 14, the likely starter for the Cardinals next year. I like that. Then we had the big one where I bought back in. Even if I didn't make, you know what? It's fine. I traded Devon Achane, Deontay Johnson to Pizzo for Jonathan Taylor, Cortland Sutton, Josh Allen, Mike Williams. Good trade for Pizzo. He gets Devon Achane. I get a little move to go for it. I wanted Drake London in the deal. He really wanted Juwan Jennings, but I couldn't because, again, I was tiptoeing that line. I couldn't give up another guy. And I figured if I couldn't get London, I could trade Josh Allen for somebody to be a receiver or a flex for me. Then I traded Roman Wilson to Tavion Sanders for Keenan Allen as a depth play. Then I traded Josh Allen for Najee Harris straight up. And then we had Mike and Shane swapped Chuba Hubbard and DeAndre Swift. which was ended up being a nice trade for Mike because DeAndre Swift had 14 points while Chuba was on a bye. That was the first sign of Mike really going for it. He traded a guy that's top 10 running back for it's going to be $15 or so for DeAndre Swift. Then we had a big trade on Saturday. Corey traded DJ Moore, Jamison Williams, and James Cook to Logan for T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones. Huge trade. DJ Moore hasn't been shit. Jamison Williams has been up and down. Aaron Jones is consistent. Cooper Kupp is a stud, and T. Higgins, when healthy, is a stud. Which we saw this past weekend. Then we saw Logan make another move. Made this trade with Logan. This trade, to me, this is just. I mean, this trade's whatever because, Logan traded Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley, Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is worth $7. Calvin Ridley's, I don't know how much he's going to be, like 19, $20. Jordan Addison's, I think, 15. I wouldn't keep him for 15. But then again, Nick traded CJ Stroud, who's 10, could be more. Don't think he's really worth that. Christian Watson, I think he's going to be in the teens. Not really worth that. Rico Dowdle, he's 10, not worth that. He's going to be a free agent. He's 27 years old. He wasn't undrafted free agent. He's been in the league for 5 years. There's a reason why the Cowboys run game fucking sucks. It's because he fucking sucks. Moving on. Let's see what else do we have happen. Mike makes another trade, trades Tank Bigsby for Jaylen Warren and the Steelers D. Nice little move there. Bigsby was injured he was on a bye. Yeah, he was on a bye week, so he trades Bigsby to get Warren and Steelers. Warren ended up having a good game for him. And then this is a trade this is the one I think we'll keep seeing, but this is the one trade that makes no sense. I think this was probably the worst trade of the deadline. Pizzo traded Drake London for CeeDee Lamb, Cam Akers, Drake May. He's not keeping CeeDee Lamb. Drake London is going to be 40 or less. He'll be between $33 and $40. Drake May's $1. I like Drake May. I think he's proving that he's going to be very, very good. I just think before you can depend on him to be your fantasy starter, the Patriots need to make their offensive line better, and they need some real weapons on the outside, which is probably 2 years away. Drake London, I know he wasn't going to be able to keep him, but he could have traded him in the offseason most likely, or if Pizzo actually tried, he could have shopped him around better and probably got some cheaper guys, would be my opinion. Moving on, another big trade here. This is the big one, the real big one after my fate had been made. I traded Cortland Sutton, Jonathan Taylor, David Njoku, and the Bills defense to Mike for Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Dontavian Wicks, and the Browns defense. Huge move for me. That's a move that I was looking to do before I sold the first time. I was looking at acquiring Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, and Jaden Reed in a deal. So I got two of the guys I wanted. Dan ends up trading Justin Jefferson for Jaden Reed straight up to Mike. Mike continues his full send. Then we got Dan and Mason. Dan and Mason made a big move. Dan trades Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, and Tyler Lockett. Kyren Williams, Gus Edwards, Chris Olave. Olave is a potential topper option for Dan. Kyren Williams obviously is probably the second best running back keeper in the league to A-Chain. Argument you can make for either one to be number one. And then Mason gets Joe Mixon, who's been probably the best running back in football this year. Not named Saquon Barkley, so good move there. Kevin trades Dalton Kincaid for Russell Wilson and Jonnu Smith. That trade's whatever. If Kevin keeps those two to start them next year, he should be kicked out of the league. But that's just a result of Kevin going 8. Kevin should have sold 3 weeks ago with a winning record. I don't think Kevin has won since he hit 5 wins. Let's see. Then we got who's this? Mason and Logan. So Mason gives up Quentin Johnston, Ramondre Stevenson, Tyler Lockett. That's going to be a combined 26 and 2 is 28, about $33 for Josh Jacobs, Xavier Worthy, Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell ain't shit. Josh Jacobs a great pickup for Mason. Xavier Worthy. If him and Pat Mahomes, if those deep balls start falling, watch out. Then here's an interesting one here. I think it's a fair trade both ways. Dan gets JSN and Tyrone Tracy. JSN is really ascending into a top position. He's wide receiver 12 right now. And then obviously Tyrone Tracy has looked phenomenal. That's my worst trade of the season. That's my one regret this year is the Tyrone Tracy trade, the second one, not the first one. And then Matt gets Kenneth Walker back and Xavier Legette. What's this big trade? Oh, here's a big trade. Landon, Landon is a quote unquote gambler, former gambler. But he's got it in his blood. And he just couldn't resist the urge to go for it. But I don't blame him because you've already invested so much into this season. You're in second. You're tied for first. I mean, you're technically in second. All you got to do is win. You got to just beat Corey this week, and essentially you're in the playoffs, and you never know. And if you have a Pat Mahomes on your team, anything can happen. So I like the trade. I like the trade for Landon. He gets Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Travis Etienne, Rachaad White, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Smith, Mark Andrews from Tim. Tim gets J.K. Dobbins, who's a good price at 17. Jaden Daniels, the pride and joy of Landon all season long, $7. Justin Herbert, Sam Laporta, Khalil Shakir. So Tim gets a couple of good keepers there. Landon doesn't get any of the elite options at receiver or an elite option to replace Dobbins, but Rachaad White has been pretty consistent. Travis Etienne, you just got to cross your fingers and hope that he can fall into the end zone here or there and that he gets, at least 10 touches a game. Marvin Harrison has been solid up and down. Devontae Smith, solid up and down. But the real get, obviously, is Lamar Jackson. The ability to be able to score 40 points in a game is huge. That's why he did that trade. And Tyler Lockett for Wan'Dale Robinson, whatever. But here's a big trade. We've got Shane the Hedge King. Shane the Hedge King trades Jamar Chase for Puka Nacua. Why? Because Shane wants to hedge. It's what he does. It's a great trade for Tanner. Tanner is all in can be. He traded A-Chain. He traded Puka. He's traded every great not worst trade of all time. That would be Jameson Williams for AJ Brown. But he wants to hedge. The other I like this move for Tanner. Because even if he plays against Mason in the playoffs and Joe Burrow's popping off, Joe Burrow doesn't pop off unless Chase pops off. And if he can negate those points off of Joe Burrow, that's huge for him. I love it. And then Shane, like Puka's great, does have a significant injury history going all the way back to college. He's a tough. It's like Debo. He runs hard. He after the catch makes contested catches. He's not afraid to catch the ball over the middle. So he gets beat up a lot, and he doesn't just go down. Great player, but it's Shane. I don't like it. I don't like it for Shane. I love it for Tanner. There's no confidence in his team to beat Mason or Tanner, I guess. And then Peanuts Warriors. Shane makes another move with Tim to get some really good depth. He gets Tim trades away Michael Pittman, Justin Herbert, Jalen Waddle, the Lions D for Jared Goff, the Browns. Jared Goff's only $4. Noah Brown, Jake Ferguson. I wouldn't be keeping any of those fucking bums. Jared Goff potentially see how he finishes the year. I would maybe try keeping him for $4. And then was that the final trade? And that was it. That's your trade deadline. Let's look at the playoff race. Look at the standings now. So you look at the standings, Shane's going to win his division. The West division is really, really tight. You got Joey and Mason have clinched playoff berths. Neither have clinched the division. we'll see how that shakes out because they're going to be playing each other here soon. Mason is my favorite to win that division. Joey didn't improve his team at the deadline at all. His receivers are a big question mark. I think the flex is going to come into play here soon for him. And Dan, even though Dan sold, Dan still got a sneaky decent team. He's projected for 94 this week. Gino, he's still got two really good running backs in Kyron and Tyrone Tracy, two really good receivers in Jaden Reed and JSN, a really good defense in the Broncos. So Dan could definitely play upset. Dan actually probably will sneak into the playoffs. He's sitting here with a 99% playoff chance for Dan. And then, Logan sold, but he's got 68% playoff odds. So the North Division is Tanner's gonna win that division. Mike's right there and behind him at 6-5 with a 78% playoff chance. Tim and Kevin are out of it. And then we got the South Division, my division. Close race at the top. We got Corey and Landon. They actually play each other this week. The loser of that game isn't going to make the playoffs. I feel confident in saying that. So it's a must-win game. If they did lose, they still have a chance. They just cannot lose another game. My view is when I was looking to make the playoffs was I have to get to 8 wins. 8 wins gets me a chance to get in, right? Because Mike is likely going to end up at 8 wins. He's 6-5. Dan is already at 8 wins. He's 8-3. Logan is 6-5. He could end up at 8 wins. So you have to get to 8 wins to even just get in the conversation. And then you got to start looking at tiebreakers. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head. The second tiebreaker is points. So you're going to fall subject to a tiebreaker if you get to that 8-5, that 8-6 mark as a wild card. So for Corey or Landon, they both made moves to go all in. Landon doesn't really have keepers for next year at this point, and neither does Corey. Corey's got Baker Mayfield, who he kept, so his price is going to go up astronomically because he's like the number 2 quarterback. So he's probably not a keeper. David Montgomery's a keeper. He's going to be in the 30s, I believe. So that's his only keeper. So both of these teams went all in. So this is a huge game this weekend for them. Excited to see who wins. So yeah, my predictions. Let's look at the playoff bracket right now. Seeding is going to be a huge thing, which we'll probably talk more about that as we get closer to the playoffs and what seed you really want. But right now, Joe's projected to be the 1 seed. The winner of the West, Brett, I think the West is that division. Yeah, the West. That's going to be the 1 seed. I think Mason ends up winning that division and getting the 1 seed. It could be Tanner getting the 1 seed as well, depending on how many games Mason loses over the next 3 weeks, if any. Because obviously Tanner has a chance. He's a number 2 seed. He has a chance to finish with the same or better record. And I don't know what their head-to-head matchup was if they played. So, yeah, the 1 seed will play the 8 seed. The 8 seed is likely going to be, I guess it could be Logan, and it could be, he's not going to get in. I think it's just going to be one of these 8 teams and how it shakes out. I do know that if I'm the 2 seed, which is Tanner, I don't want to see, right now he's projected to play Mike in the first round. I don't want to see Mike in the first round. If I'm a playoff team, if I'm one of those high-seeded teams, the 1 or the 2, Mike is the team I don't want to play because Mike's got a lot of guys on his team now. That team, let's look at that team now, post-trade deadline. He's got Bo Nix, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift. Not counting, if there's no bye weeks, he's got Justin Jefferson, Cortland Sutton, Amari Cooper, receiver. He's got David Njoku at tight end. He's got Jonathan Taylor flex. He's got the Steelers defense. Jaylen Warren on the bench. Keon Coleman, Marcus Valdes-Scantling on the bench, which Valdes-Scantling looks like Rashid Shaheed out there. So Mike's got a squad. He can put up points. We saw that against me. I don't want to see him round 1 if I'm one of those top seeds. I'd be sick to my stomach. I would want to be playing whoever the 8 seed is. Like I said, it could be Logan. I guess it could be Dan if Dan loses out. Which that's still a scary team, but I would still rather see Dan than Mike at this point. So the 3 seed right now, Tanner's the 2 seed. Tanner's going to be the 1 or the 2, and then the winner of the West will be the other one of that. So the 1 or the 2. The 3 is going to be Shane. I think Shane's probably pretty locked into that because I don't see Tanner losing much more, and I don't see Mason losing much more. So I guess Shane could sneak into the 2 seed depending on if Tanner Mason lose, and what his head-to-head record is there. I know it's obviously 0-1 against Mason, so he would fall into the 3. Which the 3 seed right now has him playing Dan as the 6 seed, and that's a matchup he would want for sure. And then the 4 seed is the winner of my division right now. It's Corey has a tiebreaker against Landon. Would be playing Mason, which I think will flip, and then Joey gets the 5 seed. That's the matchup I would want. If I'm the 4 seed, I get Joey in the first round. I would absolutely love that if that was my matchup in round 1. Yeah, it would either be Joey. It could be Dan also, depending on if Dan beat snakes a game against Joe, finishes with a better record. So yeah, and so my prediction. If Mason and Tanner hold off in the 1 and 2 seed in the opposing brackets, and Shane stays in the 3. I think we're on a collision course. We're on a collision course to see Tanner and Mason in the championship. Obviously, Tanner and Shane, should it work out that way, would be an excellent second round matchup. That would be really two big dogs duking it out with those two. I don't see. No offense to Landon, no offense to Corey. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I just see the winner being Mason, Shane, or Tanner, not in that order, but it's going to be one of those 3. I have a strong feeling. I mean, Mike's team. I like Mike. I think Mike has a top 4 roster. If we're talking about who's got one of the best 4 rosters, it could be Mike could really go on that run. He would have to. He would have to knock out Tanner. Then he'd probably have to play Shane. Wouldn't be easy, but he's got. Yeah, I'll put him in my top 4 is one of my favorites to win it all. I just think Tanner top to bottom is better. And then he would. I think it's gonna be one of those 2. I won't make a prediction now. We'll make that when we get closer. And then for the teams that sold, let's give out some grades and evaluate their selling. We'll start with Pizzo. Pizzo sold off Jonathan Taylor, Drake London, Josh Allen, Cortland Sutton, to end up with Brian. He already had Brian Robinson as a keeper. He'll keep Devon Achane. CeeDee Lamb, I guess he can top. Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz. I don't know if he'll keep one of them. Maybe Drake May for $1. So yeah, his keepers are good. He's got 2 really good running backs, Devon Achane and Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson having a hell of a season, averaging 13.7 points per game, which is actually a full 1.3 points more than Devon Achane. So he's having an excellent year. He can top CeeDee Lamb if he wants. So Brian Robinson, Devon Achane, Drake May, those are his 3 guys. The rest are kind of up in the air. He could keep Deontay Johnson. He could keep Zach Ertz. So yeah, that's Pizzo. Then we'll move on to me. What would I give Pizzo's keepers? I think he's got excellent keepers. If I was to evaluate, if a rank, we'll put Pizzo down right now. We'll come back to it. Let's look at my team. I don't mean to toot my own horn. I think I did a great job. I had a spreadsheet on an Excel sheet. I identified the players I wanted, the contracts, how it all works for me. I like my keepers now better than I did the first time I sold by far. The first time I sold, I was only going to have Purdy, Bucky, and Achane. But now I really like. I love my keepers now. I just was looking at a thing. Puka Nacua rookie season and Brock Bowers rookie season are almost identical. Juwan Jennings is averaging 10.5 points per game, which is 12th in the league for wide receivers. So he's looking like a stud. So I got Brock Purdy for $7, Bucky Irving for $4, Najee for $36, Juwan Jennings for $1, Devon Bailey is looking really good for 4. Brock Bowers is 8. The Rams defense is $1. Brian Thomas Jr., 10th this year in scoring for wide receiver as a rookie. Probably only going to get better next year. Yeah, all that for $75. I did pick up Michael Penix. We'll see if they make a switch next year. What happens there? I could keep Jalen Polk. I think he's 4. Khalil Herbert could land somewhere. I think he's 2. But I'm not counting them right now. I'm counting my core guys for $75 for that. I got Bucky Najee is my RB2 in my flex. I got my 3 receivers. I got Brian Thomas, Juwan Jennings, Devon Bailey. And then my tight end, absolute stud. And I got my quarterback. So next year going to the draft, I'm looking at just really paying up for RB1. And I love that. I do love that. And I would have money on the side to be able to go and get another wide receiver if I wanted, based on, how, Devon Bailey's penciled in as my wide receiver 3. If he doesn't finish strong, doesn't really have a role, that's fine. I can go out and give me a nice little wide receiver 3. We've seen guys like Terry McLaurin go for 23 this year. That would be what I would be targeting in the draft next year. Someone like that for $23. Let's see who else sold. Matt, or let's see. We'll full standings. We'll go to Dan next. I think Dan did a good job. His last trade he made was, I think, his best. So Dan's got, he's got Geno Smith. He's going to keep Geno for 2, which is whatever. Geno Smith cannot be your starter going into next year. He's too up and down. But I think he's a guy you can, if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a quarterback, you could get him and another guy like him and just play it based off matchups and things like that. Kyron Williams is going to be around $15. Tyrone Tracy is 7. And Tyrone Tracy is 7. Jaden Reed's going to be around 15-ish bucks. JSN he's going to be a little bit pricey, but he was kept for 15. So he's number 12 right now, so he's 24. I know Dan wants to keep Kyle Pitts for 11. He can now, I believe, with his current setup. He can top Chris Olave potentially, or he could keep Theo Johnson if Theo Johnson finishes well. And the Broncos defense is $1. They're the number 1 defense in the league. So Dan's got some excellent keepers. I probably would give Dan the edge over me. I like my receivers more. That's including Brock Bowers, but I like his running backs more. I do have a quarterback I think is close between us. I would probably give Dan the slight edge on me in terms of keeper rankings right now if we were doing that. Then we'll look at Kevin. Kevin sold. His keepers are Trey Benson, probably Jalen McMillan. I don't know. Amon-Ra St. Brown for sure. Jatavion Sanders, Roman Wilson. I do like Jatavion Sanders for $1. Roman Wilson at $1 or $2 to take a flyer on. See if he can emerge as a good wide receiver too for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. But Kevin's keepers are not great. He's got a lot of work to do on draft day still, unfortunately for him. Nick keeps flipping flopping. I don't think he'll keep Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford was kept this year, so his number is going to be in the teens. Roshan Johnson is a $10 keeper. Could be good if they get rid of Swift. Jordan Addison, don't like his number. I think I said that, 14 or 15. Calvin Ridley is a solid wide receiver too. He'll be 18 to 20 some dollars, I think, or that's okay. Tyler Lockett for 5, whatever. He'll go for that next year. Trey McBride is a great keep. Taysom Hill, $3. I mean, he's old, but he continues to do well. Chris Godwin at his number was 27, 26. Rashee Rice, stud. I wouldn't keep Caleb for 7. He'll go for that again next year probably. Rashid Shaheed, I think he's 4 or something like that. Nick's keepers are okay. They're not good. They're not bad. There's a lot of guys that are priced too high. He's got guys, but they're just priced too high. Matt's got some good keepers. He'll keep Kyler Murray. I believe he's going to be. He'll be in the low teens. Looking at like probably $10 to $14. Kenneth Walker's going to be 31 unless he goes off the last few weeks and boosts that up. Uh, Maybe keep Jacoby Myers. He's playing well. Um, let's see, Roma Dunze. I don't know if he's going to keep a Dunze, but I do love a Dunze. Xavier Leggett for $6. I like that. Keyshawn Booty, we'll see if he would keep him. I think he's $1. Kaime Fairbairn, stud kicker, $1. Isaiah Pacheco obviously is a great keep. So he'll have Pacheco and Kenneth Walker heading in next year. Leggett, I think probably, or I don't think he can keep it. I don't think he'll keep it Dunze. I think he's the odd man out. But I do like Matt's keepers a lot. I would probably put him third to Dan and myself. Um, and then we did him. No, we'll look at Tom. Tom's got some really good. I don't think Tom will keep Anthony Richardson because his number is going to be 12. He was kept for 4, I believe. Not going to keep Singletary. He'll keep Nico Collins, Josh Downs, and Garrett Wilson, all for really good numbers. So that's phenomenal. He'll keep TJ Hawkinson, probably keep Jalen Coker, probably keep Jordan Mason, see if he ends up the starter somewhere next year, and Tank Bigsby. Neither of the running back keepers he has are sure to be a starter or anything next year. They'd probably be a flex option for him. But the receivers he has are elite. Like he's keeping 2 legitimate wide receiver ones, and I think Josh Downs is a excellent wide receiver too. So I think Tom's a really good keeper. So I'd probably put him 4th just looking at it right now. Might need to move it around. We'll keep going. Then we got Tim. A lot of sellers. Tim's got Jaden Daniels, J.K. Dobbins, maybe Sam Laporta, Darnell Mooney, Khalil Shakir, Jared Goff. Doesn't really need Jared Goff because he's got Jaden Daniels. Forgot about that, so it doesn't make no sense. He's got some good guys. I mean, who depends on where Dobbins ends up next year. Mooney's looked excellent this year. Khalil Shakir has been very solid. He's wide receiver 34, so that makes him I would say Shakir's a very good wide receiver 3. Darnell Mooney, realistically, is a very good wide receiver 2. So he'll need a draft RB1, wide receiver 1. Probably keep Laporta because he's only going to be $10. So probably keep Laporta. Yeah, so Tim will have be able to go and have a nice little draft with what he needs. So Tim's got some solid keepers. He sets up well for a draft day, I think. Not horrible at all. And then last but not least, Logan. CJ Stroud, again, I don't like his number for 10. Rico Dowdle, his number is 10. Don't like that. He's a free agent. Again, he's going to be 27 years old. He stinks. Ramondre Stevenson for 26. I like that. Jameson Williams for 12. I like that. Quentin Johnston for 2. I like that. I don't know what Christian Watson's number is, but I'm pretty sure it's in the teens. I have no idea. I guess he would need to stay healthy and play the rest of this. I would need to see him stay healthy the rest of the year and keep getting 4+ catches a game and really finish strong to say that's good. He's got James Cook for 31. Also, he won't be keeping Christian Watson. So James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Jameson Williams. That's 30. Because Cook is what's he right now? Wide receiver or running back 9. So that's 12. So that's 12 on to 23. So he's 35. 35 and 26, 61, 61 and 12. Jameson Williams is 12. 73. Quentin Johnson is 2. That's 75. So that leaves him with $5 left. Probably keep Wan'Dale Robinson or Tucker Kraft, which is solid, which is pretty solid. Actually, I might give him the edge over Tim in terms of if we're ranking keepers here. Well, Pizzo does have the 2 running backs, but he doesn't really have anything else now. So that's it. So if I had to rank them, I'd put Dan number 1. I'd put me number 2. I'd put Matt number 3. Tom number 4. Logan number 5. Yeah, I'd put Tim number 6. Pizzo number 7, Nick number 8. Actually, no, I'm putting Kevin number 8. Sorry, Nick. And Nick number 9. Amon Ra, he's got some star power. I think Trey Benson's going to be a stud when he's a starter there next year. I don't think there's anybody really on Nick's team that is. Oh, he's got Rashee Rice, but it's a receiver, not a running back. Trey McBride, yeah. No, I mean it's close between Nick and Kevin, but who cares? It's 8-9, flip a coin. That's it. That's today's show. Hope it was a good one. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we got a little preview going into this weekend. Again, I alluded to it not too long ago. With some of these key matchups. I don't want scoreboard. Contact shot nuts. All right, so me and Pizzo play. That game means absolutely nothing. Tim and Mike are playing. That game means nothing for Tim. Means everything for Mike. Mike's off to a bit of a slow start because Njoku only had 2.9, but Mike is still projected to win by 23. Shane and Matt, the game means nothing. Then this is the game, one of the games, probably the game of the week, definitely the game of the week, is Corey and Landon. Right now, Landon's projected to win 107-100. Corey had a horrible game from CJ Tillman. He exited the game with an injury. I think he fumbled too. Landon's really kicking himself right now for not starting Nick Chubb. He would be feeling great if he had started Chubb heading into this weekend. But that evens the playing field, I think, a little bit. Then we've got Joey and Logan. I mean, Judy had 8.5 points, but Logan's projected to win 91.4-90. So a close, potentially an upset here. It would definitely shake up the seedings for the playoffs. And then we got Nick and Tom. That game means nothing. Then we got the Swift. I'm a Swifty, which is Kevin versus Tanner. Game means nothing. And then we've got Dan and Mason. Mason was projected to win 122-94. Again, Dan's probably in the playoffs. If Dan were to upset, it could shake things up in terms of seeding, but it doesn't really shake things up in terms of who's making the playoffs and who's not, because they are both probably going to make the playoffs. So yeah, that's it. Also, don't forget the teams that sold. This offseason is the season where our divisions will change. The last team, remember, this is the offseason where the last team in each division has their name put into a hat and drawn for a new division. You cannot end up back in the same division. So not a lot at stake, but some new matchups are going to be getting made for next year. We could see where teams shake out. Obviously everyone has an idea where they do or don't want to go. So that's at play too. So if you like your division, I would suggest making and you're in last place, trying to sneak out a few games. That the North Division, which either Tim or Kevin are going to be leaving that one. The East Division is going to be Tom or Matt. The West Division is likely going to be Logan, and then my division is going to be me or Pizzo. So going to be some good shakeups for next year. There's some good owners who had a down year who are going to be thrown into that hat. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys. Good luck this weekend. We already had the Thursday night game start. And everyone tune in to watch Landon and Corey's game this weekend. Huge game. I think it's a loser leaves town. So best of luck, everybody. Great job with the trade deadline this year. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams sold, so just over 50%. We had teams like Mike going for it for the first time ever. So yeah, it was fun to see Mike make all those moves. He made some great moves. You had your other guys making their typical moves. So it was a fun deadline. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good weekend.